This is Bruce Bochy, and you're listening to the Ranger Report.
The Ranger Report. Yeah, the Ranger Report. If you want the inside scoop, listen to the Ranger Report. Oh, here we go.
This is the Ranger Report podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the World Series champion Texas Rangers, from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter, Tyler Nilson, and CJ Berryman.
Welcome to the Ranger Report podcast on the Comfort Air online studio, where we're all repping Comfort Air here. 2 hats and a shirt if you're watching this on YouTube. 2 hats and 2 shirts, sorry. But Tyler's the only mismatch one. I guess me and Tyler both, because I don't have the shirt and you don't have the hat. So, but we're still there. Comfort Air online studio. We are, of course, brought to you by Dallas Sports Nation and Walton's everything but the meat. And, of course, we are on the Fans First Sports Network, which, by the way, just to plug myself, because I can do that. I'm writing for them now, so go check some of those out. I'm tweeting those articles out and putting them on Facebook. So y'all go check out the articles that I'm writing on Fans First Sports Network. And it's not just Rangers content; it's all kind of content. I get to write whatever I want, which is kind of fun. Anyway, I'm joined by Tyler and Mac. How are you guys doing?
I'm exhausted, but I'm doing good.
I'm exhausted, but I'm doing good. Like I said, I've been with the company now for 2 months, and I understand now what Mac's saying. Get ready for the summer, because it's been hot and tiring, a lot of long hours. So
I'll tell you what, I spent 15 years of my life working outdoors, so I know what you guys are talking about. Of course, you guys go up in attics, which is worse than working outdoors. Like, at least I had a breeze every once in a while. You guys were up in attics, It's just crazy.
Yeah. I don't think Mac's so much. Mac's still in attics even at doing it for 20 years, Mac, 25 years. You still get up in the attics, which is good to see. You don't see a lot of bosses that actually want to get, their hands on for working. So it's pretty cool.
Well, that's the deal. I'm not going to ask my employees to do anything that I'm not willing to do. So,
and that's the way to do it right there. I did, like I said, I did land surveying and then engineering forever. And I was an inspector or a surveyor. So I was always outdoors. And like I said, when I became crew chief and bosses and all that, I kept going out because, again, I'm probably like you guys. I don't want to sit in an office all day and just type away on a computer. Not my thing. I liked being outdoors until I couldn't be anymore, which is when I became a teacher. So that was fun. Yeah, I couldn't do an office job. I just couldn't. But anyway, kudos to all you guys out there that do. All right, speaking of being tired, let's talk about the Rangers right now and their offense. They just got swept by the Milwaukee Brewers in 3 games. But, Tyler, each one of those games was close. It's not like the Rangers got blown out at any of them. It was just failures at the end of each one of those games.
Yeah. I mean, you make a good point, and it's not like you come into that, series. Milwaukee's got a good ball club. I mean, they're about 15 games over 500. I think where I was disappointed the most in it was you just came off a sweep with the Royals, and it seemed like the players had started getting a little bit of momentum heading over. This is exactly what we were looking for. And then you come in and it's kind of like, I wouldn't say the Rangers laid down in this series by any means, because every game, like you mentioned, Ben, was close. I hate to lose those one game, the extra inning game as of yesterday. You don't like seeing that, but they kept it close, and then they come out tonight, which we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, no team likes to get swept, especially with the Rangers, the way the season's been going. You at least want to win 1 out of the 3, on the road. But it was a tough pill to swallow, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it was especially, starting pitching in that series was really good, except for, Evaldi gave up the grand slam. But then the Rangers immediately came back and took a 5-4 lead. And I thought, all right, here we go. That offense is finally, but that was it, man. And then, of course, that Derek Hill missing that dive for the ball that led to the inside the park home run was just bad luck. Because he probably would have caught that 9 times out of 10, but it was just a little too far in front of him, and he couldn't keep it in front of him once it bounced. That was a terrible play. But to give up 2 grand slams in a series, though, not something you ever want to do as a team.
Well, and you nailed it, Ben. I mean, the starting pitching has been, that's been what's been getting us by in these wins that we've been having. I mean, they've been pitching really, really well. And it was just one of those deals. Like I said, I didn't get a chance last night to see the replay. All I know is the box score said it was a inside the park home run listed at 264 feet. I didn't even know Derek Hill made a play on the ball. I haven't seen it. So maybe you can go to detail exactly what.
He dove at it, and it got by him all the way to the wall. He was in center field. He dove forward for the ball, and it got past him and rolled about 60 or 70 feet to the wall. He had to get up and run back there and grab it and throw it back in. By the time he threw it back, there wasn't even a throw at the plate.
Yeah, and that might have been a case. He was so amped up. He just got called up, was back on the major league roster, and he might have had all these juices flowing and thought he could make the play, and he wanted to make a statement for himself in that game. And like you said, misplayed the ball, and it's unfortunate. End up costing the Rangers the game. But, hey, it's still, like we've been talking about, Ben, as we know, we still got time, and I think Mac wants to talk a little bit about that. So I'll hand it over to Mac a little bit.
Yeah, so it's like we talked about last year. Last year the Rangers started out really, really strong, and then they would dip for a little bit, but their trajectory was so high for so long, and that's kind of what propelled them. And then they hit that lull at the end, right before the end of the playoffs, and lost the division lead. And it's baseball. It's a roller coaster. This year with the Rangers, with all the injuries and the calling up and calling down, and it's just like a little kiddie roller coaster. They're just up and down. They cannot get going right now. And I'm just like, you know what? And my deal is like All-Star break, people, and talking to Tyler, people are starting to get healthy. They're going to figure something out. And those guys have not changed from last year. They're the same guys that went to the World Series last year and won. They know what it takes. It's just there's so many variables this year that have happened to them that they don't have it right now. They've got the manager to do it. He's made big moves right now, and he knows what he's looking at, and he's like, this is where we need to go, and he's going to have to lay his hat on that right now.
And I heard mentioned on TV earlier tonight, and this is a good point. In 2012, Bruce Bochy and the Giants won the World Series. At the All-Star break, his offense was 24th out of 32 teams in baseball at the All-Star break, and then they turned it around in the second half of the season and won the World Series. So the precedent is there of a Bruce Bochy team to start really badly and then turn it around. I mean, basically it would be the opposite of last year, where the Rangers started really strong and then, limped to the end until they got into the playoffs and then won the World Series. This would just be opposite if they start weak and then get strong. So like Max said, after the All-Star break, Tyler, is super important. They have to win most every series from the All-Star game to the end of the season.
Yeah, I want to hit on 2 points. Ben, the first one you said about Bruce Bochy, that's a great point because, this is a guy you're thankful to have as your manager, a Hall of Fame pedigree. This guy isn't going to lay back. He knows what it takes to win. And, there's a lot of teams. Of course, if you're an MLB coach, you're a damn good coach. I mean, let's just give it. Even if you're the worst team in baseball, you're a good coach. But when you're a Hall of Fame coach, you separate yourself from the pack. And Bruce Bochy is that type of coach.
Yeah.
And he's not going to sit back, like Max said. He's not going to sit back. He knows what it takes. But the time is now. But as far as July goes, this stretch coming up, we had Kane on last week, and Kane made a really, really good point. These are beatable teams, but that's what scares you this year about the Texas Rangers. The teams that we should beat, we're not beating them this year, unlike last year. The teams that we were expected to beat, we were beating them. But this year, it's night and day. Yeah. And I understand it's still the same team, like Max said, but there's something that is not clicking with this team. I don't know what we've been trying to dissect it all year, Ben. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but there's something off. But once they do find that, I don't know if it's the injuries. We can, have that excuse. But once it does click, and it will, I keep on saying this, it will click this year. And once it does, this team could reel off 10 to 15 games in a row. And you could see that game. The lead's only 7.5 in the AL West. That's not a huge margin, especially with these guys coming back healthy. So that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, you look at the way Scherzer pitched in his first game back. He went 5 innings, 1 hit, shutout baseball. Excuse me. Looked fantastic. Looked like Max Scherzer. If you can get just 5 innings out of him, every start, and he makes the rest of his starts for the rest of the season, you're at least guaranteed to be in almost every one of those games that he pitches. You get DeGrom back, he can do the same thing. 4 or 5 innings, guaranteed to be in the game. Then you're looking at Evaldi. Evaldi's not the number one guy anymore. There's not as much pressure on him. I think he pitches better. Same thing with John Gray. I think he pitches better or goes to the bullpen where he's been really good, because he's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde right now. He had that terrible game against the Mets. Then he had that great game against the Royals, and now he's having a terrible game against Baltimore. So you don't know which John Gray is going to show up. But I think if you move him to the bullpen, then you've got, and you already have moved Dane Dunning to the bullpen, who looked great the other night. So the Rangers have help coming, and a lot of it for the bullpen is coming from the starting rotation.
Yeah, and another guy, Ben, you didn't even mention is Tyler Mully coming off the IL. We've seen the pitcher he has become. And the Rangers, when they signed him in the offseason, they already knew the surgery. I mean, he already had the surgery done, and they were expecting it. But Tyler Mully, you get him back in this rotation, it's a whole different problem to have, with the opposing teams. Our biggest problem right now is getting these bats going. I don't know where you want to start. The only guy you can really rely on, and who would have said this at the beginning of the year, is Josh Smith. You pretty much know what you're getting with the guy day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, I called for him to not make the team after spring training, to get cut, because I thought he just was. And then who gets sent down this week? Ezekiel Duran, which we also need to talk about. The Rangers sent Ezekiel Duran down, and they designated Yuri Rodriguez for assignment, which he has not had a good year at the major league level at all. He hasn't. But Ezekiel Duran has definitely not had a good year at the major league level. I mean, we've watched a lot of baseball, guys. Why can't this team hit this year?
It's not that they can't hit; they're not consistent.
Yeah,
and because you look at the Dodgers, we swept the Dodgers. You swept the Kansas City Royals. Those are two division leaders in their divisions. They've got the bats to do it. There's just no consistency with these guys at all. Yeah. I mean, it's just like you go from 8 runs to 0 the next day, and it's just like it's there's no rhyme or reason to it. And I mean, it's not that they can't hit; it's just that there's not a lot of consistency. And the pitching's the same way. I mean, you look at it on the opposite end. I mean, you can score 8 runs and get beat 9-8. That's not a good outing on your pitching staff either. So there's just a lot of ebbs and flows with this Rangers team right now, and there's no. But that's the star that we're aiming for, is like you're beating division leaders. I think there were people that thought LA was going to win the World Series this year. The Dodgers,
including me.
Y'all just swept those guys. So they're capable of doing what they needed to do to win another World Series. It's not consistent right now, and that's where they're. I mean, there's so many variables in baseball, guys, and y'all know that more than I do. It's just it's just a weird sport. I mean, it's because you have your offense, your defense, and everything starts with your pitchers, and then it has to do with your bats. If your bats are off, you're going to lose. If your pitching's off, you're going to lose.
Yep.
And you make a good point, Mac. That's the most frustrating part for me as a fan, and I think Ben can attest to it, is we've seen this team, what they can do. Last year, I mean, this team can hit the ball. I mean, that's a given. When you play the Rangers, the Rangers are going to score runs. That's pretty much a given every day. But this year, it's not. And Ben, you brought up a really, really good question, and it's a question that I cannot answer. I don't know why we're not hitting the ball this year, because like you said, it's the same team. There's not much has changed. Much doesn't change in a year. I saw a really good thing. The only thing I can really pinpoint to it is I think they interviewed Nathaniel Lowe. Actually, it was Josh Young. When he came off the IL, they were interviewing Josh Young, and they asked him, what do you think is wrong with this team? Why do you think this team's not hitting? Are you going to bring that spark they need? And he said, you think about it. We played almost 2 months longer than any other major league team. At least a month. He said, we're tired. It was a long off season. It wasn't just them playing, but there was so many activities after they won the World Series that they were part of, going to places, representing the trophy. There's a lot of weight to carry with it when you win the World Series. And that just goes to show you how hard it is to win a World Series. And you look at teams, you're like, well, that's an excuse. A lot of people say, well, that's just an excuse. Every team, but that's why it's not done every year, back to back, because it's so hard to do.
Well, that's why it's been since the 90s since it happened. I mean, no one's done it. No one's done it since the Yankees in the early 90s.
And
you look at this ball club. Go ahead, Mac.
You know what's sad about that statement is that's one of the youngest guys on y'all's ball club.
Yeah,
and he's saying that, and y'all's team's relatively young, but that's a young guy, one of y'all's youngest guys that is saying those words. It's like, we're tired.
Yeah. And I mean,
and it just shows you, and they look, Ben, like they look tired. You watch them on the field, this team, they do not have the same energy they had last year.
No.
When you flipped over a Ranger game last year, they were so fun to watch.
Yep.
This year, it's like you're hoping they can score 5 runs. You're like, if they score 5 runs and the pitching can pitch the way they have been, you feel good. But right now, I'm used to getting on my box score, looking up a score, at work if they're having a day game, and I'm used to seeing 1 run or 2 runs on the board.
Yeah, you look at this team, and the biggest deal to me, what I look at the most, is how horrible they are with runners in scoring position. My joke earlier this season, someone I follow on Twitter had tweeted, I wish someone loved me as much as the Rangers love leaving people on or leaving the bases loaded, because the Rangers have literally, like, I made a joke, if you want to get the Rangers out, load the bases. And then all of a sudden they can't hit anymore. It happened again in yesterday's game against the Brewers. I almost forgot who he played. Happened yesterday's game against the Brewers. The Rangers, for some reason, freeze up when they get runners in scoring position. Who's driving me crazy, honestly, right now is Jonah Heim swinging at every single first pitch. That's all he's doing is rolling over and getting thrown out. That's all he's doing on every first pitch. And he'll get a home run or a single here and there, but the majority of his swings are first pitch groundouts. And that reminds me of just a team that's phoning it in. And I know they're not, and I know he's not. He's a fantastic player. But when you're in a rut, man, sometimes it's hard to get out of it. And I think that's the deal right now, is that they're stuck in a rut, and they got to get out of their own heads. They got to realize that, they are the team from last year and they can hit the ball.
Yeah. And I think another thing, Ben, I don't think this team necessarily, last year you had, Scherzer, of course, has been on the IL, but he hadn't been in the dugout all year. But you've got to have a voice in that dugout. I don't necessarily think there's one player on the Rangers. You heard of Leody Taveras kind of make some comments about this team, for him to step up. But it shouldn't be Leody Taveras making these comments. You need guys like Corey Seager, the leader of your team, or Marcus Semien, that needs to sit down. But I think it's to the point right now that, Chris Daniels, or who am I talking about? The GM, our GM.
Chris Young.
Or Chris Young, yeah. Chris Young, I'm thinking of John Daniels.
Yeah, going back to John Daniels back in the day.
I got John Daniels stuck in my head, but John Daniels was sitting there, and I'm like, but no, Chris Young, he's making these moves, and I think him and Bochy, of course, they sat down. These moves have been planned for a while now, and I think they're making a statement right now. Either you're going to work your ass out, you're going to come out, we need some wins, and now's the time.
Yeah, I think Duran getting sent down really sent a message to the team.
Yeah, I agree.
And all three of us know, as a human, when you reach the pinnacle, it's easy to get complacent. Mm-hmm. It is. Every human, we're all humans. It's easy to get complacent. And these guys are multimillionaires. They're guaranteed their money. So It's really easy for them to get complacent. But here's the deal. Y'all have a general manager that doesn't care about anybody's feelings. He's a competitor, and he wants to freaking win.
Yep.
And that's the one thing the Rangers do have going for them. He will figure it out. And I think that a lot of the moves that they've made just recently is a big testament to saying, I'm not going. He's close to retirement. He may retire at the end of this year. I don't know. But that dude's like, I'm not going out like this. If he intends to leave, he's not going out like that. He's going to give everything he's got. And the dude wants to win.
Yeah, I 100% agree. All right, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, more from the Ranger Report podcast on the Fans First Sports Network. Let's look ahead. The Rangers, of course, tonight, we mentioned it, they are not doing real well. John Gray had a bad outing. The Rangers, as we're recording this, they're down 8-1. So Baltimore is a great team. They're already at 50 wins. We're at 37. So the odds of sweeping this series are pretty small. You look at who we got ahead. We got good pitching coming up, and we have, our offense can hit like we were just talking about before the break. So what are the odds that we at least split this series, Tyler?
That's what I'm aiming for. When I came into this series, if we can get, it's a 4-game series. Let's take 2. Let's split it. I'll feel very comfortable with that. I think I've mentioned on the previous podcast, Baltimore, they have a lot to play for when they're playing the Rangers. They did not like the way they went out last year, in that division series. So it's one of those deals that are, that was in the AL. Yeah, it was a division series.
Yeah, that was DS.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, but they're not. I mean, I think they still held a little grudge, from last year. And
I'm sure. Yeah.
And obviously it's showing tonight. I can care less if we're going to lose. I can care less if it's 15-0 or 15-1. It's not looking good tonight, but you still got 3 big games in this series. And, if they get beat, you got to rebound, just let it go and come back tomorrow. You got Scherzer on the mound tomorrow, which obviously we saw what he did in his first outing and he looked freaking tremendous. No, he wasn't too happy coming out of the game, but like Mac mentioned earlier too, it's a long season, there's still plenty of time to get back in this race. And I would feel comfortable at two wins in this series. What do you think, Ben? Yeah.
Yeah. We got Scherzer, Lorenzen, and Heaney going.
Yeah.
Scherzer, we know he's going to keep you in the game. Lorenzen as well. He may give up a home run or 2, but it's going to be a 3. He'll give up 3 runs max. That's what he's done every one of his starts. And then Heaney, the problem with Heaney is Heaney has been pitching really good, but the Rangers are averaging less than 1 run per game for Heaney. He's pitched almost every one of the Rangers shutouts, where they've been shut out. They cannot hit for that dude, man. I don't know why. He's 2-9 with a 4.1 ERA. And lately he's been pitching to a 2.9 or 3.1 ERA. And they just do not score runs for him. So I'm thinking, tomorrow and Saturday are the 2 games they need to win with Scherzer and Lorenzen on the mound. And then, maybe get some hits and squeak out a 3rd one with Heaney on the mound. But Mac, it just comes down to, just getting a couple of hits with guys on base.
Yeah, that's it. It's consistency. Those guys, yeah, it is. It really is. It's just, you got to be consistent. At the plate, you got to be consistent with your hitting, because that's where the Rangers are holding their hats on. That nothing's changed with the Rangers from last year at the plate. Nothing, really.
Yeah,
well, and another thing you got to look at, you like you said, Ben, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, you got to feel good with Scherzer stepping on the mound. Even coming back from the injury, you feel good about him coming on the mound. With John Gray tonight getting beat up, this is a guy I've been talking about. You always feel comfortable with Gray coming out. He's the one that you feel, him and Evaldi, Gray, like you said, it's been so weird the last month what's going on with the guy.
Yep.
Or I guess 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But It's been just weird. Like you said, he goes and pitches so bad and then had a great outing and then comes out tonight and gave up 8 earned runs. It just goes to show you never,
and he doesn't give up home runs, and he gave up 3 tonight, which is for him is a lot.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's just weird to watch, and again, against the Mets, he said he was tipping his pitches. He didn't know how. And then he told us, because I was at his last start against Kansas City. I was there for the post game when he came down to talk to us. But according to him, he had fixed that. And obviously he did. He pitched 7 shutout innings against Kansas City. So he obviously fixed something. And then tonight he comes out and just once again. And of course, another thing we hadn't mentioned, the Rangers are have lost 18 of their last 21 on the road. So they have, and here's the deal. You guys know baseball is cyclical, So the best offense in the league last year, you knew they weren't going to be the best offense in the league this year because their baseball goes up and down. But the fact that they didn't lose a road game in the playoffs, and now this year they can't win a game on the road. And again, all it takes is a 10-game win streak and they're right back in the conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said on the on the last podcast, Seattle and they're going through that stretch right now. They're not playing good baseball.
No.
And for us, you sweep the Royals, you come and play the Brewers, and you still only lose. We were up to 6.5 games. 3 games before that, we were at 9.5 games.
Yeah.
It can swing that quickly. In 2 weeks, we could be sitting here and say, oh, well, the Rangers are only 3 games out now. And now you got all your guys back. You got DeGrom back. You got Molly back. You've got, of course, a healthy Scherzer. And the bats all of a sudden come alive. This isn't a time to give up on the Rangers. I don't like the direction the Rangers are going. I don't think anybody does. I think right now you've got to get on the gas pedal and put it down. This is the time right now.
So how many games before the All-Star break as of right now?
They have These 4 and then 3, I think 10 games before the All-Star break.
Correct.
It's 10 games.
So after the All-Star break, would you take their reverse record right now, flip it, and add 10 games to that in the second half of the season? Where does that put the Rangers? In y'all's opinion?
Well, if we could play 20 games above
minus so you reverse their record as of right now and add plus 10 wins to the end of their season total. Where does that put the Rangers at the end of the season? Because what are the Rangers' record right now?
They are 40 or 37 and 43.
So if they went 40, let's say 53 and 27 in the second half of the season.
Yeah, they'd have 96 wins.
That's 10 wins, and they just completely flip, being healthy the whole second half of the season.
Yeah.
Their record right now and add 10 extra wins. That's 96 wins. That's where they were last year.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And I think
we're going to have you on the podcast more often, Mac, because I love your optimism.
I'm just saying it can happen. It can happen. It's baseball.
Yeah, it definitely can. And the pitching's not even been the problem, Tyler. Even with the guy, I mean, even if DeGrom doesn't get back healthy and Molly doesn't get back healthy, I still feel like our pitching is good enough to make the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
All we need is to start scoring 5, 6, 7 runs a game again, like we did last year. And this team will start winning, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6 games, and, really, really wiping the floor clean with teams like they did last year. But we keep saying they need to do this. They need to do this. They need to do it. Like Max said, I think the All-Star break is the deadline. If you come out of the All-Star break and lose 5 in a row, this season is probably over.
Well,
right.
And like at the end of the last season, we said, or at the beginning of this season, we said, okay, the Rangers are the hunted now.
Yeah.
What does it take to beat the Rangers? They're the most studied batting order in the major leagues. They're going to figure out what was successful for the Rangers and what pitches they hit last year and which players hit. It's tough. It's a tough deal. I mean, it really is. We talked about this at the beginning of this season, is saying they're the hunted now. Everybody's looking at, how do we beat them?
I was wrong, by the way. Sorry, 16 games. The All-Star break's the 3rd week of July, not the 2nd. So they have 16 games before the break. So really, July is the key. I think they need to start winning in July.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Tyler.
Well, I was just going to say, the funny thing, like you said, the funniest thing, you were talking about the pitching. If you would have told any true Ranger fan that follows it like me and you do, Ben and CJ, that the Rangers, what's keeping them afloat right now is their starting pitching coming into the season, and you're not even talking about the offense, man, you would have lost your mind. You would have laughed. You would have said,
I would have laughed. Yeah. Especially you tell me DeGrom's on the IL, Scherzer's on the IL, Molly's on the IL, Cody Bradford's going to go down, Nathan Eovaldi's going to go down for a little while, John Gray's going to go down for a couple of weeks. Be like, this team can't pitch worth a crap. But what happened during that time? They had one of the lowest starters ERAs in baseball with all those guys on the injured list. So for some, I mean, we've said this before on the show, and I'll say it 1,000 times. It's Mike Maddox. Like, that man is a pitching wizard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mike Maddox, I mean, he does wonders with that ball club. It's something with that pitching staff, they had injuries last year, but not compared to this year. I mean, it's not even close, but they have that next man mentality. And, last year I was reading a thing about them. They had this game they play, with each other, and, they see a pitcher go out there and perform so well. And that next pitcher the next day, they have these side bets that are going on inside that clubhouse that, you pitch that good, I'm going to pitch better. And it just feeds on. And that's what's going on with this team right now.
Yeah.
Of course, we hit a bump in the road tonight with Gray. But if you look over the past, month and a half, 2 months, this starting pitching staff has been wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, I think we're going to harp on this till it changes, but it's not the pitching and the bullpen. People appointed some of the bad bullpen games, which there have been. But I mean, this team would have 12 more losses if it weren't for David Robertson and Kirby Yates.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a guy I hope they don't trade that's one of those deals. I don't know what the Rangers, me and Mac actually were talking about that one day, and Mac asked me a lot of questions, about the game, the Rangers and stuff. And I really don't know what the Rangers are going to do at the deadline. I don't know if they're going to be willing to buy or sell. And it's one of those deals, but I think you can get some really good prospects if you do end up going that route, selling, Kirby Yates or Robertson. You can get a lot of really good prospects because these teams right now are looking. We've seen the Yankees. There's already activity going on in baseball.
Yeah.
Yankees are already out there shopping. They've been doing it. They do that every year, as we know.
Yeah, but they're actually good again this year. So
they're actually good again. But, they're willing to give up. And the Yankees they're willing to give up some of their top prospects to get players if they know they're going to go win another World Series.
Yeah.
They're that type of team that will do something like that. So that's an option. But like I said, we still got 16 games before the All-Star game to see what this team is made of or what direction they really are headed. And we'll go from there.
So we got 28 games left before the trade deadline. 28 games before the trade deadline. So if they win, 16 of those and lose 12?
And I still think you got to win more than 16, though.
I'm saying if they do, or if they, if the worst happens and they wind up going 500 or a little below over the next, then I think they are sellers at the trade deadline.
I agree.
But if they're within 6 games of the division when the trade deadline rolls around, I don't think Chris Young is going to sell. I think Chris Young still thinks this team can win.
Right. And the listeners out there, they got to realize when we're talking about this team selling, don't think of names. They're not going to trade a guy like Marcus Simeon or Corey Seager or Josh Young.
We're talking guys
about
on 1-year deals.
Yes. We're talking about guys like Kirby Yates, Robertson coming out of the pen. Maybe a guy like Andrew Heaney could possibly be
John
thrown
Gray's
out there.
on the last year of his contract as well.
Dane Dunny might be a guy that you're hearing names of. I've heard his name a little bit, but you're not talking about any of our core players that we're talking about.
No, definitely not. You're talking about the rentals or the guys whose contracts are about to expire. So,
Correct.
Anyway, so with that said, what else we got, boys?
Matt, go ahead.
I don't know. So it's what we were watching the game yesterday on Gamecast or something on the phone. And so me and Tyler's like, oh, there's a guy on third. Twins. It was the Twins, right?
Brewers.
They were playing the Twins yesterday.
Brewers.
Huh? The Brewers.
The Brewers.
Milwaukee.
Brewers. They were playing the Brewers yesterday. He's like, Rangers are about to lose. There's a guy on third. I'm like, no, Tyler, they're going to get out of this. We're going to go into extra innings. Then they're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. And I did not realize there was a ghost runner. So I was like, what the hell are you talking about, a ghost runner? They're like, there's an automatic guy on second base. And I'm like, why? And I'm like,
I hate that.
And he goes, because it doesn't allow it speeds the game up. And I'm like, well, it doesn't give any team an advantage, really. And he goes, well, it actually does, because the teams that's pitching better and next inning they win. And I'm like, well, see, I told you, I called it. So,
well, at least they got rid of it.
They got out of that ninth with a runner on base with one out.
Well, Kirby Yates came in and he did fantastic. He's
been doing that all year.
And here's the deal. Latz didn't even do all that bad. It's not like he grooved a ball down the middle for that game-winning hit. It was a pretty good pitch, but the casual fan wants everybody fired right now. And that's just going to happen. The casual fan sees one name up. He gave up, winning hits in 2 straight games. Get rid of him. Well, Latz has been pitching fantastic this year for the Rangers, but when he's melted down, it's been at the worst possible time. And he's a rookie. That's going to happen to a rookie sometimes in the major leagues, guys.
Yeah, and it's funny because you look at this team, we just came off a World Series. This team, these fans have waited, 52 years, some of them, and we win a World Series, and then you look at it this year and we suck. We're playing, we're not the Rangers we were last year, and everybody's like, oh, the Rangers suck again. They're terrible. And I'm like, we just won a World Series. Calm down. It's funny.
I'm telling you, the Rangers are not done. I'm telling you guys right now, and I don't get to watch a lot of games because of Bally Sports. I don't have Bally Sports, which they're still exactly right. They're still the defending champions, and they're not going anywhere. Y'all have a great manager, and that dude's already made moves to figure out the second half of the season. He's already started that process way before All-Star break.
Yep.
He's not going out limp dick. He's not. He's not.
Yeah, no, he's not. No, he's not just drawing a paycheck. He wants to win.
He's not. That dude, you could tell the dude when they're playing like shit, you could tell he's sitting in the dugout with a scour on his face.
Oh yeah, he's mad.
He's thinking, what the hell do we need to do? I mean, that's where he's constantly thinking. I mean, I was watching the Kansas City Royals the other day, the opening game of that series. I was out at a venue that had Bally Sports, and I was able to watch the Rangers. and Evaldi was pitched lights out. And then I go and look at who's the fourth in the lineup? What's his name?
Adolis Garcia.
Adolis Garcia. The pitcher throws a ball in the dirt and he swings and misses. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's not even – he's looking for something. He's looking for something because it's almost like they're overstudying what's coming. Do what you did last year. Be patient at the plate and hit what's coming.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Don't overthink the game. It's not that difficult for those guys. It is for me, but it's not for them. They get millions of dollars to hit a baseball.
I think that's the word that needs to be preached to them for the rest of the year on offense is patience. Last year, they worked more walks than almost any team in baseball. This year, they're way behind on walks because they're not like you said, there's that comfort level. They won it all last year. It's not as urgent because they've done it. They've been there. They've done that. They've won it all. They need to get back to that. Hey, let's not swing unless it's our pitch instead of swing. Like Adolis, he struck out on so many balls 3 feet outside the strike zone this year. It's ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah, that one pitch he struck out on that.
It's almost like they've studied so hard that it's just like, oh, I know what's coming. Well, it's not coming because last year you did it. They're not going to throw the same crap at you that they did last year. People are studying you as well. And that's what they've just got to figure out that, hey, be patient.
Yeah.
Swing what you see coming like they did last year. That's what it was last year. They hit everything that they believed they saw coming. And now they're overthinking it.
They definitely are.
It's a good point, Mac.
All right, guys. I think that's all we got for tonight. Again,
we got one more. Max got Stump the host.
Stump the host.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I thank God that CJ's not on tonight because that floored me that he got that question as fast as he did. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, he got that quick.
Okay. Here's my Stump the host question.
Come on, Ben.
I should text it to CJ once we hear it.
No, well, he's not on tonight, so he's not able to do this. All right. So this is one question, but there's two answers. So I'm going to give y'all, there's a pre-1900, which y'all don't even have to answer that because that's well before our time. There's a post-1900. So the question is, which MLB team has the record for most runs scored in a game? And y'all can answer both or answer just the pre-1900.
Well, I know it's not the Rangers, Ben, because the Rangers scored 30 against Baltimore when they won that game 30-3. And I know it's not the Rangers.
No, it is the Rangers. The Rangers are the second one.
The Rangers are second or third on that list.
No, the Rangers are the one post-1900. Am I correct, Mac?
You are correct.
They hold the record. 30 is the record.
Oh, yeah, 30. Yeah, because they were 30-30.
30, that's
Baltimore.
the record. 30.
And you were right with the answer. So I want to ask you the post-1900.
The
pre-1900. Sorry,
I could be wrong. I'm going to take a shot because I think I know it, but I could be wrong. Is it the Cleveland Spiders?
It's not.
Okay, let me take a guess.
All right, go ahead, Tyler.
Pre-1900s?
1800s, pre-1900s.
I'm going to go with the New York Yankees.
No, it was not. It was the Chicago Colts, which I didn't even know.
Wow.
In baseball.
I knew them.
How many RBIs runs do you think they scored in the game?
It was over 30. I know that.
I'm going to say 48.
Huh?
I'm going to say 48.
No, not that many.
I think it was 34 or 35.
36.
36. Okay. Yeah.
Dang.
So y'all are pretty good, man. I'm just not going to get any. I'm not going to get any coffee cups from you guys.
That game, Mac. That game that you're talking about when we scored 30, it was 30-3. Josh Hamilton had 4 home runs in that game.
No, that wasn't the one.
Was that not the one?
No. Nope. Ramon Vasquez had a grand slam. David Murphy, I believe, had a grand slam. If you remember right. See, I remember this game. That's why, Mac. But if you remember right, the Rangers were losing, I think, 3-1 in the 4th inning.
Correct.
And then they were up like 5-3 in the 6th inning. And then in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, they scored 25 runs on Baltimore.
That's unbelievable. That game had to end at like 4 a.m.
No, that was the first game of a doubleheader.
Yeah, it was a double header that day.
The Rangers had to play another game after that.
Well,
And in that second game, I think they scored over 10 runs in the second game. Is that correct, Ben?
I think it was 9, but yeah, I think it was like 9-2. But yeah,
they scored like 39 runs in two games.
One day. Yeah.
Well, damn it, y'all are just too good. Y'all are just too good. I can't get you guys.
Mac really.
Well, when it comes to the Rangers, you'll get us one. You're going to get us one day.
I don't know. I'm going to have to start asking y'all some freaking hockey questions or something.
Well, see, we didn't really get it because we didn't get the pre-1900 team. So, we only got half of it.
You got the deal, and that's why I was like, the post-1900, that's way back. I didn't even know that team existed. So, but y'all got the second half of it, which is pretty cool.
Yep. All right, and I bet a lot of people out there that have followed the Rangers forever knew that. Well, I just remember they made a big deal out of it because they said it was the most in the modern era. And that's why in that game, I thought I heard say something about the Cleveland Spiders, but the Cleveland Spiders was, of course, before the Cleveland Indians, now Cleveland Guardians. So
Mac was looking forward to getting something off the site, Ben, and now he's like, "Damn it, gotta wait another time."
He's welcome to anything he wants off the site. He wants to earn it legitimately.
Yep, right, I do. I'm going to get you on something, and it, like I said, it may have to be a hockey question at this point because I thought I had two really good questions. Y'all just
if it wasn't for CJ, we wouldn't have gotten the first one.
I'm telling you what, I thought, I had everybody, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, really? Ricky Henderson of all people? And I'm like, oh. And he just started doing his still, and I'm like, golly.
Yep. Yeah, though the way you worded the question was great. I would not have gotten that. Once CJ got it, it totally made sense to me, but I would not have got that on my own.
Yeah.
Yep, we got you on that one.
I'll try again. I'll keep trying.
Keep trying. All right. Thank you guys for joining me on the Comfort Air Online Studio. We'll see you guys next time. The Ranger Report Podcast.
There we go.
Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Ranger Report Podcast. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and at therangerreport.com.